we have a built car. So I still need to paint the body. I did get it trimmed. It's fit to the car. Looks great. I have the paint for it, so I will be painting it. Like I said, I'm just going to paint this black. Because basically there's two box art versions. There's the red chassis and yellow top, and then red chassis and black top. And I really like the way that black and red go well together. You know, it's got the red and black striping on it. It just seems to fit better. And that's the box art for the kit one. So we'll build it like that. Now I did make some changes, and so I just have the wing sitting on there. But the body, you know, overall, it's kind of traditionally thin. Some of these inside corners down here were very thin. So if you guys ever get one of these, be extremely careful cutting that part out. It's really easy to kind of, you know, snip, snip, snip. Whoa! It wants to get away from you. But everything worked well. Now, obviously, we're not using the mechanical speed control cover because there is no mechanical speed control in this. So right now we have the 1060 Hobby wing, my regular Spectrum receiver, and just a standard Metal Gear servo up front. So what I had to do is I had an old Tamiya stock silver can motor. I unsoldered the wires off of that and just soldered those directly onto here. So now we have the, you know, factory black and red wires exposed, and then once it gets into the car, it goes to the, you know, typical Tamiya yellow and blue, or yellow and green. But it's fine. Nobody's going to notice. Now, unfortunately, with this really annoying tiny switch from the Hobby wing, you know, I'm either going to have to cut the wires and make this switch come down here and fit into the chassis, which I probably will do later on. I just need to actually find a good source for those switches. You know, you go on to Amazon and start trying to search for stuff like that, and it's ridiculous. So I just need to go to like a hobby store and find the switch. So I can actually mount the switch down here, so you can just switch it on and off from underneath, and then you don't have to pull the body off. So for right now, we'll have to pull the body off to turn it on and off. I'll probably just leave it on, and just, you know, when you plug the battery in, it's good to go. I went through the car, and, you know, the gearbox had grease-ish. It was once introduced to this tube of grease, vaguely and just in passing. So, you know me, I over-grease everything. So we did put just the standard ceramic grease in here, so it shouldn't damage any of the plastics, and it actually is lubricated now. The wheels and tires got swapped over okay, and I'm really, really glad I decided to go ahead and get this kit and get the chrome wheels for it, because upon taking these off, actually the other rear wheel that was already mounted was broken in two spots. So it looks like whoever put it together wasn't experienced and didn't understand. You kind of need to get everything kind of lined up and smushed together first, and instead of trying to draw it in with those little tiny screws. So it looked like basically what happened is they were trying to draw the pieces together with those little teeny tiny screws, and something in there pulled apart, and, you know, a few pieces broke. The fronts are fine. There was one cracked piece where the screw goes through, but that's fine. The fronts can actually be reused on something else, and parts of the backs are okay. You know, there's the center rings and the one inside ring. The outside ring is busted, or the face of the tire is actually busted, and the other face was completely missing. So thankfully, whole new wheels and tires set up. Everything is going well. Now, this all still has the bushings in it. I only plan on running this once in a blue moon. You know, we'll make the run video of it. More than likely, this is going to remain kind of a shelf queen, and, you know, on the wild whim that I decide I want to take it out, I will take it out. You know, I'll leave the electronics in and everything. I don't expect this to be a great performer. The front end suspension is kind of non-existent. I mean, you have to push on it to get the front end to work. The rear end is overexcited and is one of the bounciest things I have. Not a whole lot I can do. I mean, I could try to find some oil shocks that would fit on it. So probably some like little 16th scale, 18th scale shocks would probably work well on this. But no, we're not going there. It's going to drive just as bad as it was designed. And, you know, we're just going to take it out and have fun. The tires are in perfect condition. Everything is in great condition. Everything was assembled well. You know, just had to change some things out and, you know, put some grease in. You know, if you guys build one of these kits, which, you know, I'm speaking to a very small audience right now. If you guys build one of these kits, just be careful. Some of these plastics are extremely soft, which is good. It makes them last, but it is very easy to, you know, over tighten a screw. Especially putting these wheels together. You know, you were just using basically little tiny self-tapping screws, and you know, it's a fine line between just enough and that's keeping on going. So just be careful with those. But everything went together well. I didn't install the servo or the speed control or anything. I thought about just putting it in here for, you know, decoration. But you know, we have that somewhere. Oh, but we still have that. It's in perfect condition. I'm going to leave that, and you know, the extra parts, the cover and the big antenna. I'm not putting the antenna on just for storage reasons and safety reasons. You know, this doesn't have a rounded end on it, or you know, a bent like a loop or anything like that. So it's just like a stabby thing. So I know me, and I'm gonna shank it into my cheek or something when I go to pick up the car. And, you know, thankfully I wear glasses, so hopefully I won't stab an eye out. But yeah, not the best design for the wibbly wobbly on this. So I'm gonna leave that off. We're gonna put all this with the other kit. Now, as far as the other kit goes, I'm gonna go ahead and build it. Now I'm gonna build that one just as it's outlaid in the manual. I'm not even gonna put the wheels and tires on there. The wheels and tires will get mounted, but you know, that one's just going to be built laying in the box. You know, I'm going to go ahead and cut the body out to fit it on there, probably mount the wing, but I'm just going to leave it clear. I want that one to be, like I said, kind of a showpiece, a moment in time, and something to show people when they come over, and, you know, I can explain to them, you know, this is what we have now versus this is what we used to have. And this one is kind of a mashup, modern electronics into an old buggy. Okay, so this is just going to jump into the middle of the video somewhere. So one of the things I had to do with this, and I don't know whether it's because of modern servos or what, but the output of this servo evidently seems to be a little bit longer than I guess the Cox servos were, or the original, you know, the old school servos. So on this one, I actually had to run a Tamiya servo saver on here. Thankfully I had a spare one, so I need to order a couple of extra sets now because that was my last one. But basically it's a Tamiya servo saver in here with the step back servo horn on it. Now the other thing I had to do, and this was on both of them, when those rod ends, when the steering rods went in, you know, they've got the little Z-bends on there. When they went in, they did not want to go back. They wanted to pitch forward. So when the arms need to be lined up here and go straight across basically. But when you put those on, either the other servo saver or the Tamiya one, they were wanting to pitch forward real bad. So when you know, bent them back to line up with the ball studs back here, you know, it wanted to, you know, it felt like I wanted to snap that little plastic horn off. So what I did, and the first ones were because that servo saver is extremely long for the stock one. Basically, you have to put on the round disc servo horn, and then you mount a piece to that, and then you have the split ring and the drop down servo horn here. So you basically have a servo horn, then a servo horn. So, you know, it's god awful long, and it pushed it way up here, so the arms were forward of the ball studs back here by a lot, and then add on to that, they were already wanting to pitch forward, and there was no way to put them on backwards and work properly. So what I did was I switched over to the Tamiya one that actually moved the servo saver back, and I took a drill bit that was just a teeny tiny bit bigger, and I came in kind of on an angle on both ends to allow those arms to flex back and not be pressing against that plastic. And it's not a lot. Don't go overboard with it and run an 1/8 inch drill bit through there, because you're going to get a whole lot of steering slop, and you know, the odds of breaking it go up because you're removing so much material. So just get one that's just a tiny bit bigger than the hole, and just come in and start the drill bit and then lean it to the outside and just kind of work it so where you're kind of, you know, shaping those holes to be tipped out because of the shape of those Z-bends of that arm. They don't bend, you know, perfect 90-degree angles. It's kind of coming back at an angle a little bit. But that was the only issue I had, was doing that. I had to kind of fart around with that, change out the servo horn to move it back, drill those out, and now they're not binding. The long one is just a little tiny bit tight, but a little bit of wear, and that will solve itself. The other side is good, but there is no real play in there. So if anybody was worried about causing play, like I said, just use the drill bit that's just a hair bigger than that hole, and just kind of come in at an angle on it. But back to other Addam that already forgot what we were talking about up here and didn't mention that. Alright guys, so the Bandido is complete, finally. It's taken a couple weeks for the decals to get here, and got the body painted in the meantime, but I think it looks fantastic. Now, I was having a bad decal day, so some of the stuff isn't quite perfect, but all in all, it looks fantastic. And forgive me if I'm repeating stuff because I recorded the other part of this probably 2 weeks ago. But essentially, the build went fine. The front end was pretty much built. The rear end was already built. Chassis was already to go. I did take the whole rear end apart, double checked everything. I'm glad I did. There was grease in there, but it was kind of a passing of sorts, a casual greeting between grease and gears. So we globbed a whole bunch of more grease in there, and worked fine. It's a little stiff right now just because all that grease needs to get worked around, but as soon as that gets worked around and dispersed where it needs to be, that rear end will soften up, and I don't mind it being a little stiff. And it's cold in here. But the chrome rims look fantastic on here. I'm really glad that I went that route instead of the white. Nothing against the white wheels, but I think the chrome, the black, and the red all really play well together. The MCI decals were fine. Now, I did notice on these, I had to peel up this stripe up here and this stripe up here and kind of bend them a little bit. And when I was kind of pulling on it to bend it and get it straight, it stretched the orange coloring a little bit. The other colors seem fine. It's just for some reason that orange is a little wonky. But overall, it's fine. Like I said, there's some goof ups. This should have been up a little bit higher, and these stripes would have come up a little bit higher. But it is what it is. Everything looks fine. This one doesn't quite line up with this side. But again, it's just for fun. So one thing I did notice between the yellow box art and the black box art. So on the yellow box art, the little yellow off-road champion sticker is actually down here on the red chassis and not up on the body. Makes sense. On the black one, they don't even have this on the car, so I just stuck it back here. They put the Cox Hobbies down here. The Kreger is not, it was on the sheet, but it was not included on the box art in either one. But I kind of figured what 10 to 14-year-old boy would not stick the Kreger logo on there, so we put that on there. The Valvoline is not shown on the box art anywhere, so I just stuck those on kind of the shock tower covers. Everything else is pretty much the way it is in the box. Oh, I did add the extra one, the off-road Unlimited down there. It has the one up here on the box art, but down here it did not have that one, but there was two on the sticker sheet, so I stuck it on there. There was still some other, white Cox Racing or off-road racing champ, something, I don't remember what it was, but they really didn't fit anywhere on the body. There was nowhere, wide enough to really put it except for right here. And I wanted to put the Cox on there since it is, it's a Cox rebrand car. I don't know. I like it. I think it just looks really cool. I love the super skinny pizza cutter tires on the front. Those look really nice. Everything about it is really cool. It kind of has that Hornet / almost Scorpion look to it. Now, running it is going to be interesting. Front end, nothing. It barely flexes. Rear end is just the bounciest thing. So I'm assuming this thing is going to be and this is without the battery. So with the battery, it doesn't bounce as high, but it bounces just as much. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this out for a light run. Now, eventually this may get out on the track. I don't know. But it's very cold outside, so I don't want to go jumping it around and bashing it around too much. So for right now, we're going to go out, we're going to take pictures. We'll do a casual run just to see it moving around for the first time ever. And eventually, it probably will get out on the track. Now, I do have the Kyosho Pegasus as well that I have to get kind of refurbished and redone. And that one's already got a lot of, let's say, love shown to it. So the bottom of that one is all scratched up, and this one is just pristine. So that one may be the one that hits the track. I'm probably going to put a little bit better motor in that one. So this one may just kind of get some a nice gentle run and kind of hang out on the shelf and be the pretty one in the bunch. And then the Pegasus will probably, lean on that one a little bit harder since it's already seen some stuff in the past. But anyway, I'm going to hush up. We'll take it out. I'm going to leave you guys off with just a photo montage of this and some running. But everybody out there, you guys be happy, be healthy, be safe, and I will catch you guys on the next one. See you.